101.5 FM WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. We'll be right back after these short messages.
This is Tim, your host for Hippies and Outlaws. The Friday Rock Party has gotten even better. Not only can you hear Hippies and Outlaws at 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, but now we're on Friday night from 8:30 to 11. Every Friday, you're going to hear the best in rock, southern rock, and blues. So you guys know what to do. Kick back, relax, and get your favorite buzz on with Hippies and Outlaws on WLCB.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Smokey the Bear.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
Don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by...
Are you ready? I'm always ready. Are you ready? Hit it. I saw you were with them last night. I saw you were with them last night. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper. Don't burn the bridge, burn the paper. Yeah, that's Billy D coming to a venue near you. You know who Billy D is, folks. That's me. That's my stage name, Billy D. And that is Don't Burn the Bridge, Burn the Paper. Song I wrote. I actually wrote that song in about 15 minutes, most of it. And then I finished it up on one of my first gigs ever. At a open mic and tea coffee place, and I was kind of trying to figure out what's going to work, and I figured it out, and I made it work, and then I refined it, and I'm going through a couple of other additional refinements thanks to my guitar teacher. We're adding a couple of little upgrades. It's a little bit of a learning curve for me because I'm doing some stuff I've not done before, so stay tuned. I've got to get some more time in the music studio. I've got 4 more songs I have to cut. Yeah, I know I've been talking about this for weeks, right? But life gets in the way, folks, and there's only so much time in a day for me to do all this. So once I get the 4 songs cut, then I can create all these songs. I can push them up to all the different learning or the music venues like iTunes and Apple Tunes and Pandora and Spotify and YouTube, etc. And then I can get business cards with QR codes and start handing them out to different places where I may want to play. some musicians that are in my church band these guys are really good. They've cut 3 or 4 CDs already. They're really good. They were kind of kicking my butt. They're like, why aren't you out there yet? You can do this. So just stay tuned, and we'll see how it goes. A lot of these places, folks, want a 2-hour show, sometimes 3. Part of the delay is I have to learn some covers, and that takes time too. So anyway, I hope you enjoy those bumpers. We're back at 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. This is your Insurance Corner, and we're going to continue the discussion on IRMMA tax. But before I do that, I forgot I had one other little tidbit that came across my desk just before I left the office today to come into the station. And I'm just going to read this to you because it's literally hot off the presses. According to a recent frequently asked question, the Department of Labor, the Treasury, and the Health and Human Services, collectively the departments, intend to issue guidance that would require large insured group plans and self-funded plans to treat all prescription drugs, and I use the word all, as essential health benefits. Now, why is that word essential health benefits important? Essential health benefits, folks, is the anchor for the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. There's a boatload of things that the insurance companies were required to do. And one of them was, of course, prescriptions. No problem. Now, I can tell you, on one hand, it's fine to say essential health benefits. Here's where we get into some trouble. The insurance companies may have a couple of different options to offer a consumer a prescription. There may be different diabetic medications or different pain medications. Some diabetic medications are expensive, and the insurance company goes, we're not going to let you have this one, we're going to let you have this one. Or pain medications, we're not going to let you have this one, we're going to let you have this one. There are some moments when you can appeal for those things. But this is also talking about large groups and self-funded companies where they kind of get to do what they want to do because they're big enough to do so. The background here, generally employers who offer large insured group health plans and self-funded plans are not required to cover essential health benefits. However, if the plan does cover them, the plan may not impose an annual or lifetime dollar limit on essential health benefits. And for grandfathered plans, cost sharing of essential health benefits is counted towards the annual out-of-pocket maximum. So everything about this, and it just came across the wire, folks, so I have to take some time to digest what is this actually going to mean in the real world. And I'm not tooting the horn of the insurance company, God knows. But I will tell you, this is going to raise prices because the insurance companies are not in the business of charitable work. They're in the business to make a profit, either for their policyholders, if they're a mutual company, or if they're a stockholder company like Cigna or Aetna, for example. In recent years, some programs have been designed to designate only certain prescription drugs as essential health benefits and other prescription drugs as non-essential, which I just alluded to a second ago. This practice is often seen in connection with programs that utilize drug manufacturer coupons or other copay assistance. HHS finalized the 2025 Benefit and Payment Parameters Regulation. Notably, the rule codifies, that's an important word, current policy that prescription drugs that a plan covers in excess of those covered in the state's EHB benchmark plan are considered essential health benefits unless the coverage of the drug is mandated by state action. This rule applies to individual and small group markets. It does not apply to large group health plans and self-funded plans. So the self-funded plans particularly, I think this is where the real target is, and some of the bigger large group plans where you can play loose with some of the rules, the government's going to tighten down on these things. But I will say again, Small group and middle market groups, which is the primary area of my focus of the business that I do, insurance companies are already, hacking at the prescription drug list. They're offering some plans and not offering others. Does that mean that those employees can't get those drugs? No. Sometimes they can if their doctor particularly can make the case for the appeal. So, but the doctor has to make the case. And if you can show that I've taken all these other drugs, these don't work, this is the only one that does, in some cases the insurance company acquiesces and allows the drug to go through the system. So stay tuned while that little tidbit walks through the system. We'll see how that goes. Sorry, folks. Been suffering through a cough and cold for the last month, and this cough will not go away. And I'm not fast enough to hit the dump button. So let's continue on with the IRMMA tax. This is 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. It is 6:40 Central Time here in the Round Lake Heights studios. So let's continue on with this. We're talking about how to lower your IRMMA tax. And the last thing we talked about was doing a Roth conversion. Just have to be careful when you do it, and you definitely want to talk to your tax advisor so you don't step on your toes. Here are common mistakes that often occur. You do a Roth IRA because you're getting ready to retire, you're still in your earning years, so you've got money to pay the tax, if you will. And you do the Roth IRA conversion within 2 years of your retirement. You are going to get a spike in your income. Again, that 5-year holding pattern is there, or holding period, I should say, is there, so that you can't necessarily withdraw the money without having to pay an extra 10% early withdrawal tax. All I can say here is it's a good idea. Just do it wisely, and if you can do it 5, 6, 7 years before you're about to retire, that's the time to do the conversions, in my humble opinion. But talk to your tax advisor. Here's another mistake that can happen. You sell your house, and it exceeded the capital gain exclusion. Now, for a lot of us folks, this is not going to impact us. The capital gains exclusion are for houses that you lived in for the last 2 of 5 years, and you can exclude up to $500,000 if you're a joint owner with rights of survivorship and filing jointly, or $250,000 if you're living single. Now, if you're single and you're in a $250,000 house, you're a target here. So if you end up selling your house for $400,000, and in a lot of places, folks, that's happening because the cost of housing has gone crazy, and that person sells their home and shows an income, a spike in their income as a result of the capital gains sale, you just caused yourself a lot of heartburn, and I don't think that's necessarily going to be a way to get out. Large investment gains and in taxable accounts. So you may have a lot of money in mutual funds or stocks that kick out dividends. And certainly mutual funds, they're in the business of buying and selling stocks all the time. So there will be a capital gain, and there will oftentimes be a dividend that's generated. If that dividend is big enough to get people's attention, that dividend or capital gain is going to be added to your income. Again, if there's a sizable amount of money in that account, it's going to cause some heartburn for you and potentially kick you over the edge. The sale of a business is a big one. What I do, folks, I work with clients that own companies, amongst other things. And I've got a few clients that have done very well for themselves, and I give them a standing ovation for building their nest egg very nicely. But when you sell the company, it's definitely going to cause a spike in your income. However, this is where my friend who brought this appeal thing to my attention, was able to overcome the problem. So how do you appeal this? How do you do that? First of all, you have to have SS, that's Sam or Social Security 44 form, with supporting documents, which means you may need your tax returns from the current year or prior year. You may need a death certificate if a spouse passed away to show that your income has been substantially affected. If you are retiring, then in that case, if your employer sends a letter or provides you a letter that shows you're going from $300,000 a year down to $150,000 a year, that may, plus your tax return, that may give you dispensation. That may give you dispensation. In my client's case, they sold their business. And in that year, they had a big spike in their income for obvious reasons, right? So they brought, and the spike was significant. She was going to pay over $500 a month for her health insurance for Part B, and I think $70, I think it was, for the drug card. So she came across this appeal methodology and petitioned the Social Security Department, brought her tax returns in, and showed that this was a one-time deal. So selling the business may get you out of trouble. However, if you are still showing significant income even after the sale, the Social Security may have crocodile tears for you. They may not give you dispensation as much as you want. So what else is available? Yeah, I got a blank screen. So in the context of this, the IRMMA tax, when you're planning for retirement, because that's when it's going to affect you, and the lion's share of people don't know about this IRMMA tax until they start planning for the retirement. In a lot of cases, it's not sudden, but it's like, okay, I'm done, kind of thing. It's not like they're sitting there with their advisor going, well, I'm going to retire in 5 years, and how is this going to work? They're particularly looking at income-related things. If the advisor that you're talking to is adept at Medicare, then they'll be on top of this. But there are a lot of advisors, God love them, that aren't going to be on top of this particular issue. So you're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to pay attention to that particular item. And this requires some careful planning with possibly your insurance advisor, depending on what kind of protocols you have with your insurance person. It also requires you to meet with your tax advisor and maybe your investment advisor. Let me give you a scenario of how that could happen. So the insurance guy does just the insurance, and you've got annuities, and you've got life insurance, but you've got whole life or some kind of cash value program. And the intent when you bought that was to use a part of the cash value to supplement your retirement income. For purposes of this discussion, if you're withdrawing that income the way it's supposed to be done, you're technically borrowing the money from your life insurance policy, from yourself, not from the insurance company, from yourself. That borrowing of the money is tax-free. So for those people that poo-poo the idea of buying a big life insurance policy for the purposes of cash value, I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of smart people out there that did exactly that. In some cases, they didn't put their money into a 401k. They dumped it all in here. There's no income limitations. There's no premium limitations except for what you can qualify for. There's no statutory contributions that you have to worry about. It's whatever you can afford to put into it, understanding that it is a commitment. So you're committing those dollars every year. But if you're in a stable environment where that's going to work, by the time you get to the end of the rainbow, you may have a boatload of money sitting in that cash value account, wherein either you stop paying the premiums altogether and just let it ride, or you do what you wanted to do in the first place, was to turn on the income. And the income comes out tax-free. Tax-free. Have to pay attention to a couple things. Make sure your insurance advisor explains to you that the loan is a loan, that there could be interest accrued that you may have to pay back, and how do you do that? Do you do it through dividends or the interest that are accruing, or do you have to write a check? As long as you're paying attention to that and you're at least covering the interest of the loan that you're doing, that thing will never blow up on you. On the other hand, if you have a life insurance policy and you over-withdrawal, it becomes a tax bomb. Every dollar that you pulled out now becomes income taxable. So it's really important to pay attention if you're using a life insurance policy, but you're consulting with your life insurance agent or your insurance agent with regard to annuities typically, and your life insurance as a portion of your withdrawals for purposes of your retirement. Annuities, depending on if they're IRA or Roth IRA or just a taxable account, are taxed differently. IRAs, of course, are taxed 100% of the money you take out. In a Roth IRA, they're 100% not taxable, even if they're in an annuity. And I'll tell you why it's a good idea in an annuity that your mutual fund companies can't do. If you are in a taxable program, a taxable account, the money is growing tax deferred inside of the annuity until you start to withdraw. And it's earned income, it's interest first and then principal. So you're going to pay some income tax the moment you start withdrawing out of annuity if it's a quote unquote a non-IRA account or non-qualified money. Now, why is an annuity a nice thing to look at or consider as a part of your retirement planning? Because as I say in my promo, I can guarantee an income for the rest of your life. You cannot run out of money. With all due respect to the investment advisors out there, you can run out of money in your investment accounts or your 401k accounts. You can. They cannot guarantee you what the insurance company can. The other thing that these annuities can do is not only guarantee income for life, but in the event you have a catastrophic situation where you can't do 2 of the 6 active daily living things, like you can't get out of a bed or out of a chair without help, can't dress without help, can't go to the bathroom without help, can't bathe without help, can't feed yourself without help, or have incontinence, or have dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. If a trigger there has occurred, or you have a terminal illness in some cases, and you're expected to die within 6 months to a year, while you're getting the income, one of 2 things can happen. Either your income will double for a period of time, or you can invade the principal if you're absolutely in need of the principal, no questions asked. There aren't a lot of companies, folks, that do this, so you have to look at the contract. We always talk about contracts in this show. It's not about the rate of return or anything. If that's an important feature, you want to make sure the contract includes those kinds of features where you can access the money or your income can double for a period of time. That's why consulting with your insurance agent is important. Why is it important to talk to your tax advisor? Because obviously he knows the moving parts of your taxes. So tax-free income, like from Roth IRAs, very nice. He has to pay attention to your required minimum distributions at age 73. That's important. For 72, depending on when you turned, depending on when the rules changed. And why would you talk to your investment advisor? Because you may have another 20 or 30 years to go. So do you circle the wagons and put all of your stuff in a fixed account or a money market? Or do you still have to stay somewhat, I don't want to say aggressive, but somewhat in the market, knowing that at some point in time, the market is going to take a nosedive? So that's why these advisors are critically important. So the IRMMA tax, a big deal, something that you need to plan for, something that you may not be able to avoid. If you're a high income earner or a business owner, likelihood is you're not going to avoid it. And I can tell you to a person, every single client of mine that is subject to the IRMMA tax, there is not a single person that goes, that's okay, I can afford it. They all say, I'm on a fixed income. And they are, to the extent that they're not earning what they were earning when they were working. But they're still high income earners because they did all these investments and they were able to accrue funds, et cetera, et cetera. There are ways around it so that you can diminish your modified adjustment income, but you need to pay attention to that because it's a 2-year look back. So I hope this conversation on the IRMMA tax was helpful. Stay tuned for the little tidbits that I brought to your attention at the bottom of the hour and the top of the hour, particularly with this new law that Illinois has come out with called the Paid Leave Act. Essentially, there's a longer term for it, but essentially all employers are now subject to offering paid leave up to 5 days or 40 hours after a 90-day wait, but the clock starts the moment they start working. So stay tuned for how that's going to work as we go forward. This is 101.5 FM, WLCB Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. Since we got a couple minutes left, I'm going to see if I can resurrect a message. I have not done my messages for a while. And let's see, I know they're here somewhere, so bear with me a second. I think this is it. All of these are vignettes. I can't repeat these because I don't want to get involved in copyright things. So I'm just looking for something that I can recite here as we go forward. We still have a couple minutes left, folks, so if anybody wants to call in at 262-342-6588, you've got 3 minutes to try to stump the almighty Bill. And I'm not finding anything that I can pull that is going to make any sense. So I can't. I didn't look at that one, so I'm not going to jump into that ball of wax and cause myself a problem. I'm continuing to scan and see if I can. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, how much time do I have left? How much time? Sean's not here to tell me, so I got to look at the board, and the board's being a curmudgeon by not letting me see how much time. I've got a minute and a half. All right. This is teaching math 50 years ago. Teaching math in the 50s, a logger sells a truckload of lumber for $100. His cost of production is 4/5 of the price. What is his profit? Teaching math in the 70s, a logger sells a truckload of lumber for $100. His cost of production is 4/5 price, or $80. What is his profit? Teaching math in the 80s, a logger sells his truckload of lumber for $100. His cost of production is $80. Did he make a profit? Yes or no? In the 90s, a logger sells his truckload of lumber for $100. His cost of production is $80. His profit is $20. Your assignment underlined the number 20. Math in the 2000s. A logger, I'm having trouble keeping this open, folks, so bear with me a second. A logger cuts down a beautiful forest because he's selfish and inconsiderate and cares nothing for the habit of animals or preservation of the woodlands. He does so, and he can make $20. What do you think of the way he's making a living? Oh, with that said, I'm out of time, and we're done. Have a great night, everybody. This is 101.5 FM WLCB. This is your Insurance Corner. Have a great night, everybody. See you next week.